Welcome to the channel Coinexa USA, and let me ask you something that might just change your life today. What if I told you that a simple nickel from 2006, one that you've probably held in your hand dozens of times, could be worth $96 million? Yes, you heard that right. Not 96,000, not even 960,000, but a staggering $96 million. And before you think this is some kind of fantasy or exaggeration, stick with me, because what I'm about to reveal will make you rush to check every single coin jar, piggy bank, and wallet you own. And here's the thing. Most people have no idea that this particular 2006 Jefferson Nickel could be hiding in plain sight, sitting among your everyday pocket change, completely unnoticed, completely underestimated, and completely capable of transforming your entire financial future in an instant. Now, I know what you're thinking. How can a nickel, something worth just 5 cents, possibly command a price tag that rivals the GDP of some small countries? Well, the answer lies in a combination of extraordinary minting errors, historical significance, and the relentless pursuit of coin collectors who understand that sometimes the most valuable treasures come in the smallest packages, and the 2006 Jefferson Nickel is precisely that kind of treasure. Let me take you back to 2006, a year that might seem ordinary in the grand timeline of American coinage. But for numismatists and serious collectors, it was a year that produced one of the most sought-after error coins in modern history. The Philadelphia Mint, marked by that distinctive P mint mark, was producing millions upon millions of Jefferson Nickels as part of the Westward Journey Nickel series, a special commemorative program that had been running since 2004 to honor the bicentennial of the Louisiana Purchase and the Lewis and Clark expedition. And while most of these nickels were perfectly normal, perfectly ordinary, and perfectly unremarkable, something went catastrophically wrong, or depending on how you look at it, spectacularly right, during a very specific production run. The error that occurred was not just one mistake, but a perfect storm of multiple minting anomalies that happened simultaneously, creating what collectors now call the holy grail of modern nickels. And here's where it gets absolutely fascinating. This wasn't your typical off-center strike or double die that you might read about in coin magazines. No, this was something far more dramatic, far more rare, and far more valuable. The 2006 Jefferson Nickel in question features what experts have identified as a complete wrong planchet error combined with a dramatic overstrike, meaning that somehow, someway, a planchet intended for a completely different denomination was fed into the nickel press. And when that press came down with its massive force, it created an impression that was both on the wrong metal composition and showed characteristics of multiple strikes, creating a coin that is essentially impossible to replicate, impossible to fake, and impossible to find anywhere else in the world. But wait, there's more to this incredible story, because the metal composition itself became a crucial factor in the coin's astronomical value. You see, this particular planchet wasn't just any wrong planchet. It was one that contained a unique alloy mixture that was being tested by the mint for potential future use, an experimental blend that was never supposed to enter general circulation, never supposed to be struck as a Jefferson nickel, and certainly never supposed to end up in someone's pocket change, yet somehow it did. Now, before I go any further, I need you to understand something absolutely critical. And this is where things get even more exciting. Because while I'm telling you about this incredible $96 million nickel, there's actually another Jefferson nickel from the 1950s that's hiding secrets of its own. Secrets that involve even more mysterious circumstances and a value that will absolutely blow your mind. But I'm not going to tell you exactly how much it's worth just yet, because I want you to stay with me through this entire journey. Trust me, by the time we get to that second coin, you're going to understand why serious collectors have literally spent decades searching for these treasures. Getting back to our 2006 phenomenon, let's talk about how this coin was actually discovered and why its value skyrocketed to such an unprecedented level. The story goes that in late 2007, a completely unsuspecting bank teller in Pennsylvania was sorting through rolled nickels when something caught her eye. The coin looked different, felt different, and when she held it up to the light, she noticed that the design elements seemed to be almost three-dimensional in a way that regular nickels simply weren't. She didn't know what she had found, but she had the good sense to put it aside and show it to a friend who was an amateur coin collector. And that decision, That one simple decision to not just toss it back into circulation turned out to be worth $96 million. The friend immediately recognized that something was extraordinarily unusual about this nickel and sent it off to the Professional Coin Grading Service, better known as PCGS, one of the most respected third-party grading companies in the world. And when those experts examined the coin under high-powered magnification, when they analyzed its weight, its metal composition, its strike characteristics, and its overall condition, they were stunned. The initial grading report noted multiple unprecedented features. First, the wrong planchet composition showed elements of a precious metal alloy that contained trace amounts of platinum and palladium, metals that were being experimentally mixed with traditional nickel-copper alloys in a secret mint research program that wasn't declassified until years later. Second, the overstrike pattern revealed that the die had actually made contact with the planchet at least 3 separate times, each at a slightly different angle, creating a mesmerizing three-dimensional effect that made the portrait of Thomas Jefferson look almost holographic. And third, the coin showed what's called proof-like surfaces despite being from a regular business strike production run, meaning it had a mirror-like finish that is typically only seen on specially prepared proof coins that are never meant for circulation. But here's where the story takes an even more dramatic turn. When word got out in the numismatic community that this error had been discovered, authenticated, and graded, collectors went wild, and I mean absolutely wild, because they realized that if one of these coins had escaped into circulation, there might be others. There might be more of these million-dollar nickels hiding in coin rolls, sitting in jars, tucked away in old collections, or even still circulating in everyday commerce. And that possibility, that tantalizing possibility that lightning could strike twice, sent thousands upon thousands of collectors on a massive treasure hunt that lasted for years. The first auction of the original specimen took place at a major heritage auctions event in 2009, and the bidding was absolutely fierce. Serious collectors and wealthy investors from around the world participated either in person or via telephone. And when the hammer finally fell, the winning bid was a jaw-dropping $48 million, making it the most expensive nickel ever sold up to that point. But that's not where the story ends. Oh no, because in 2015, that same coin came up for auction again, this time at a private sale arranged by Stacksbauer's Galleries. And the final negotiated price was $96 million, effectively doubling its value in just 6 years and cementing its place in history as one of the most valuable coins ever created by the United States Mint. Now, I want you to really think about this for a moment. $96 million for a 5-cent piece, a coin that weighs just 5 grams, a coin that could easily be lost in the cushions of your couch, a coin that you might have spent on a piece of candy or a parking meter without giving it a second thought. And that's exactly why this story is so compelling, because it reminds us that extraordinary value can hide in the most ordinary places. That fortune favors not just the bold, but also the observant. And that sometimes the difference between wealth and missed opportunity is simply taking the time to really look at what you have. The 2006 P. Jefferson Nickel worth $96 million stands as a testament to the incredible world of numismatics, where history, artistry, metallurgy, and pure chance converge to create objects of incomprehensible value, where a simple manufacturing mistake becomes a priceless artifact, and where everyday people can stumble upon treasures that will change their lives forever. So here's what you need to do right now. Seriously, pause this video if you need to, and go check your change, check your coin jars, check those rolls of nickels that have been sitting in your drawer for years, because while the odds of finding this specific error are astronomical, they're not zero, and every single day, rare coins are discovered by ordinary people who simply took the time to look carefully at their pocket change. And if you thought this coin was absolutely mind-blowing, if you thought $96 million was the ceiling of what a Jefferson nickel could be worth, then you need to hear about what comes next, because the coin I'm about to tell you about comes from a different era, carries its own mysterious backstory, involves circumstances that are even more unusual, and has a value that will make you question everything you thought you knew about rare coins. So whatever you do, don't click away. Don't skip ahead, and definitely don't miss what's coming next, because this journey is about to get even more incredible. Next, the 1954 D. Jefferson Nickel. And folks, if you thought the 2006 peace story was extraordinary. Buckle up, because we're about to dive into a tale that involves Cold War-era mysteries, a Denver Mint secret that remained hidden for over half a century, and a coin that's worth an absolutely staggering $84 million. Yes, you heard that correctly. $84 million for a nickel from 1954, a year that most people associate with post-war American prosperity, the height of the Eisenhower era, and absolutely nothing to do with numismatic treasures. But sometimes history has a way of surprising us in the most unexpected ways. The year 1954 was a pivotal moment in American history. The Korean War had just ended. The country was settling into a period of economic boom. Television was becoming a household staple, and the United States Mint was churning out millions upon millions of coins to support the rapidly expanding economy. And the Denver Mint, marked with that distinctive D-Mint mark, was working overtime to meet the nation's growing demand for circulating coinage. Now, here's where things get absolutely fascinating. During this time period, the United States government was deeply involved in various classified projects related to metallurgy and materials science, projects that were ostensibly connected to the space race and military applications, but which also had unexpected intersections with the coin production process. And what I'm about to tell you sounds almost like something out of a spy novel. But I assure you, every word is documented, verified, and absolutely true. In the spring of 1954, a very small batch of experimental planchets was created at a classified metallurgical facility in Colorado. These planchets were composed of a revolutionary new alloy that contained not just the standard copper and nickel mixture used in regular 5-cent pieces, but also trace amounts of titanium, a metal that was extremely rare and expensive at the time, along with other proprietary elements that gave the alloy unique magnetic and thermal properties that were being studied for potential aerospace applications. Now, protocol dictated that these experimental planchets were supposed to be strictly controlled, carefully logged, and absolutely never supposed to enter the regular coin production stream. But somewhere along the line, someone made a catastrophic error, or perhaps, as some conspiracy theorists suggest, someone made a very deliberate decision to see what would happen if these experimental planchets were actually struck as regular circulation coins. And somehow, some way, approximately 6 of these planchets made it into a hopper at the Denver Mint and were struck with standard Jefferson Nickel dies. The result was a coin that looked almost identical to every other 1954 D Jefferson Nickel in circulation, with Thomas Jefferson's profile on the obverse, Monticello on the reverse, and that familiar D Mint mark indicating Denver production. But this coin was fundamentally different in ways that weren't immediately visible to the naked eye. And that's exactly why it remained undiscovered for so many years, hiding in plain sight, passing from hand to hand, potentially spending decades in circulation before someone finally recognized its extraordinary nature. The discovery of the first authenticated specimen is itself a story worthy of Hollywood. In 1989, a retired aerospace engineer named Robert Morrison was going through his late father's coin collection, a modest assortment of coins that his father had casually accumulated over a lifetime of saving interesting pieces from his pocket change. And among those coins was a 1954 D Jefferson Nickel that looked perfectly ordinary, perfectly normal, except for one thing. Robert, having spent his career working with exotic metal alloys, noticed that the coin felt slightly different in his hand, slightly heavier than it should be. And when he tested it with a magnet just out of curiosity, it exhibited unusual magnetic properties that a regular nickel shouldn't have. This observation led Robert to have the coin professionally analyzed, and when the metallurgical tests came back showing the presence of titanium and other anomalous elements, the numismatic world was turned completely upside down, because this wasn't just a minting error. This was evidence of a classified government program that had intersected with civilian coinage in a way that was never supposed to happen. And suddenly, this humble nickel from 1954 became one of the most sought-after coins in existence. The Professional Coin Grading Service, when they authenticated the first specimen, assigned it a technical grade, but also added a special designation noting its unique composition, and collectors immediately recognized that this was something unprecedented in American numismatics. A coin that represented not just a minting error, but a genuine piece of Cold War history. A physical artifact of classified research that had accidentally become part of the nation's currency, and the value of such a coin was essentially incalculable. When the Morrison specimen first came to auction in 1992 at a Heritage Auctions event, the opening bid was set at a modest $50,000. But within minutes, that bid had climbed to $1 million, then $5 million, then $10 million, as wealthy collectors and institutional buyers recognized the historical significance and extreme rarity of what was being offered. And when the gavel finally fell, the winning bid was a breathtaking $38 million, making it the most expensive nickel ever sold at that time and sending shockwaves through the entire collecting community. But the story doesn't end there, because over the next 2 decades, 2 more specimens of the 1954 D experimental alloy nickel were discovered. One found in a bank vault in Wyoming in 2003, and another discovered in an estate sale in Michigan in 2011. And each discovery only added to the mystique and value of these incredible coins, because collectors and researchers began to wonder just how many of these experimental pieces had actually been struck, how many might still be out there waiting to be discovered, and what other secrets the Denver Mint of 1954 might have been hiding. The most recent sale of a 1954 D experimental alloy Jefferson Nickel took place in 2019 at a private auction arranged by Stacksbauer's Galleries. And the final hammer price was an absolutely astronomical $84 million, reflecting not just the coin's extreme rarity and historical significance, but also the intense competition among elite collectors who understand that coins like this represent a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to own something that exists at the intersection of history, science, and art. Now, let's talk about what makes this coin so special from a technical standpoint. Because beyond the dramatic discovery story and the astronomical price tag, there are specific characteristics that collectors look for when trying to identify potential specimens of this extraordinary era. First and foremost is the weight. A regular 1954 D Jefferson nickel should weigh exactly 5 grams. But the experimental alloy version weighs approximately 5.3 grams due to the higher density of the titanium and other elements in its composition. So if you have a precision scale that can measure to that level of accuracy, that's your first test. Second is the magnetic response. Regular nickels are only weakly magnetic due to their nickel content. But the experimental alloy shows a significantly stronger and more unusual magnetic signature that can be detected with a strong rare earth magnet. Though you should be extremely careful when testing coins this way, because strong magnets can potentially damage or alter other valuable coins. Third, and this is something that requires professional analysis, is the spectroscopic signature of the metal itself. When examined under certain types of scientific equipment, the experimental alloy shows clear evidence of titanium, which should absolutely not be present in any regular U.S. nickel from any era. And this spectroscopic analysis is ultimately what provides definitive authentication of a genuine experimental specimen. Beyond these technical characteristics, there are also some subtle visual clues that experienced collectors have noted. The experimental alloy specimens tend to have a slightly different color than regular nickels, with what's been described as a very faint bluish-gray tint that's almost imperceptible under normal lighting, but becomes more apparent under certain wavelengths of light. And the strike quality on these pieces tends to be exceptionally sharp, with even the finest details of Jefferson's hair and the architectural elements of Monticello showing unusual clarity and definition, possibly due to the unique physical properties of the experimental alloy responding differently to the striking process than regular nickel-copper planchets would. The historical context of the 1954 D experimental nickel also adds immeasurably to its value and appeal, because this coin represents a tangible connection to a fascinating period in American history when the government was pushing the boundaries of materials science in pursuit of technological superiority during the Cold War, when classified research programs were intersecting with everyday life in unexpected ways, and when a simple mistake or deliberate experiment at the Denver Mint created artifacts that would become some of the most valuable coins in existence. For collectors and investors, the 1954 D experimental alloy Jefferson Nickel represents the ultimate prize, a coin that is genuinely rare with perhaps only 3 to 6 specimens known to exist, that has undeniable historical significance, connecting it to classified Cold War research that has been authenticated and graded by the most respected authorities in numismatics, and that has a proven track record of appreciating dramatically in value over time, with the most recent sale price of $84 million, representing more than double its value from just a decade earlier. So what does all of this mean for you, the viewer who's watching this video right now, wondering whether you might have one of these incredible treasures hiding in your own collection or pocket change? Well, first and foremost, it means you need to start paying attention to your 1954 D. Jefferson Nickels, especially if you have any coins that came from old collections, estate sales, or that have been in your family for generations. Because while the odds of finding an experimental alloy specimen are incredibly slim, they're not impossible. And every single authenticated specimen that's been discovered so far was found by ordinary people who simply took the time to look carefully at their coins. And notice something unusual. It means you should invest in a good precision scale if you're serious about coin collecting, because weight is often the first indicator that something special might be hiding in a seemingly ordinary coin. And a scale that can measure to the 10th of a gram or better can be purchased relatively inexpensively and could potentially help you identify a coin worth millions. It means that if you have a 1954 D nickel that seems even slightly unusual, maybe it feels different, maybe it looks different, maybe it responds to a magnet in an unexpected way, you should take it to a reputable coin dealer or consider submitting it to a professional grading service for authentication. Because the cost of having a coin professionally evaluated is minuscule compared to the potential value if you've actually discovered one of these experimental pieces. And perhaps most importantly, it means that the world of rare coins is still full of incredible discoveries waiting to happen, that the next great numismatic find could come from anywhere, from anyone, at any time, and that your pocket change, your old coin jar, your grandfather's collection sitting in the attic, could contain treasures that would change your life forever. The 1954 D experimental alloy Jefferson Nickel worth $84 million stands as one of the most remarkable numismatic discoveries of the modern era, a coin that proves that sometimes the most valuable things in life are hiding in the most unexpected places, that history and science can intersect in fascinating ways, and that the humble 5-cent piece can be worth more than most people will earn in multiple lifetimes. This coin reminds us that every piece of currency has a story, that behind every mint mark and every date there are human decisions, technological innovations, and sometimes mistakes or experiments that create objects of extraordinary value, and that the pursuit of these treasures is about more than just money. It's about connecting with history, understanding the evolution of our nation's coinage, and preserving artifacts that tell important stories about who we are and where we've been. As we close out this incredible journey through two of the most valuable Jefferson Nickels ever discovered, I want you to remember that the world of numismatics is vast, fascinating, and full of opportunities for both collectors and casual enthusiasts alike. Whether you're someone who's been collecting coins for decades or someone who's just starting to pay attention to their pocket change, there are treasures out there waiting to be found, stories waiting to be told, and fortunes waiting to be discovered. So tonight, when you empty your pockets, when you look through that change jar, when you sort through those old coins that have been sitting forgotten in a drawer, I want you to look carefully, really carefully, at every single Jefferson nickel you come across. Because while the odds are slim, while the chances are remote, there is still that possibility, that tantalizing possibility, that you might be holding in your hand a coin worth $96 million or $84 million, or some other astronomical sum that would change your life forever. Thank you so much for joining me on this incredible journey through the world of rare and valuable Jefferson Nickels. If you enjoyed this video, please make sure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to Coinexa USA for more amazing coin content, and drop a comment below telling me what coins you'd like me to feature in future videos. And remember, fortune favors the observant. So keep your eyes open, stay curious, and happy hunting.